You'll make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
We're here at the Medina County Collectors Fair, the first ever here in Medina, Ohio, and we are extraordinarily pleased to welcome actor, gamer, host Vanessa Marshall.
Hi there.
Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
What we wanted to do was open some Star Wars cards. Have you ever opened these cards?
Never. I've never touched a box in my life.
So what we're looking for today in particular is Vanessa's signature character, Hera Syndulla from the Star Wars universe. And we're hopefully going to hit on that.
Have you seen your cards?
I have seen them. I've signed a few of them. Yeah.
Vanessa, how did you get into the voice acting world initially? What was it that sparked the realization that I can do this, I can create a career out of it?
Well, I actually created a one-woman show with about 15 different characters, and I did voices, obviously, for all the different characters, and there was a voiceover agent there, and she recommended that I try doing animation, and so that's what I did. And I got signed at the agency, and I've been working ever since. So it wasn't much of a decision as it was a happy accident.
Sure.
Yeah.
What was the first character that kicked that off for you?
I think the first character that I played was Lipstick Lady number 3 and Paramedic number 2 on the Justice League. We did not score any Heras in this pack. Lots of dudes.
Do you know those characters?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jar Jar Binks. I mean,
Of course.
yeah. All right.
So when you voice some of these, you're not actually like in the same room with them, right?
Yes, we are.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Since COVID, it's a little different. Wow, these are really nice cards. I love the feel of the cards. They're great.
You got a Lando Calrissian.
I got a Jar Jar
Jar
Binks.
There we go. No Hera yet. Let's see here. All right. The force is strong with this pack. Let's see how we do. All right.
Yeah.
Whoa, the Mandalorian. Grogu and
I got a
Qui-Gon.
Grogu. Of all the characters that
Wow.
you've played in different like video games or
Yeah.
Star Wars, what's your favorite?
Favorite would have to be Hera.
Hera?
Yeah, for sure. Whoa, Darth Vader.
So the
Nope.
girl
Yeah.
that was dressed up today and she's around.
Yes, Hera Syndulla. She's
Yeah,
somewhere.
Have you seen a better one dressed up as her?
She is on par with the best of selection. There are quite a few women who really are incredible cosplayers I've met.
And the different cons that you go to, whether they're San Diego or Pittsburgh or wherever,
Yeah.
do a lot of these cosplayers follow?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, definitely.
So some you recognize them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm on a direct message chain on Instagram
Oh, nice.
with all of them. We all communicate and compare notes on cosplay, and yeah, it's a very close community. So we're not getting any
We're not
Heras.
getting- So, and I'm not familiar with this. Who's that character? How do I pronounce
He's
that?
from Star Wars Resistance,
Yeah.
Kazuda.
Kazuda.
Uh-huh.
That's a good.
Yeah,
And our sports fans may not know Grief directly, but that's Carl Weathers, of course.
there it is.
Rocky fan.
All right, we're just gonna keep trying here. We're hoping for some Hera
Trying and
energy.
talking.
Bring the Hera energy, right? Woo!
Chewbacca.
Yeah.
We got a Chewbacca.
We got a Chewbacca, so you can't go wrong there.
I know that Harrison Ford wasn't necessarily in any of these, but
Yeah.
have you met him? And
Never.
never.
Nope. Cobb Van, Bail Organa. These
What
are
about
all
Steven
really
Spielberg?
cool. Yes, I've met Steven Spielberg. I was the voice of the Showa Foundation has an award ceremony annually, and I was they call it the voice of God.
Yeah.
It's like, ladies and gentlemen, Steven Spielberg. that was me at the event. We
Yeah.
got a
You have
Sabine.
Okay.
incredibly impressive resume on voice acting, television credits, movie credits. We saw there's Simpsons credits. You've got Wonder Woman here, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, yes.
Some of the TV appearances. I believe I saw Law and Order. And
Yes, Law and Order.
Is there a different approach when you're in the studio voicing an actor versus some of the live action in person?
Well, there's a lot that's different about it. I mean,
The preparation.
the preparation's the same. Yeah, preparation's the same, but I think being on camera, there are so many elements. You have to wait in your dressing room for an hour for the gaffer to get the lighting or the thing. In voiceover, you just walk in and you do the job. And I mean, obviously, you have to test the mic levels and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're there on the spot working, whereas the process is quite different. And it's fun to create a soundscape as opposed to. Some people feel limited by only being able to use their voice, as opposed to they can't wink or sigh, but you can influence a listener in mysterious ways that I find more fun to experiment with. Oh my gosh.
Mega madness. So
I love it.
both our fathers were in radio, so
Okay.
they would tell stories. My dad did play-by-play in college. His dad
No
did
way.
play-by-play. It's kind of like a similar thing where
Yeah.
you have to tell a story with your voice.
Yes.
And-
Yes.
Right. It is.
That's I prefer it. I mean,
Yeah.
like I have a home studio and I do my auditions.
Yeah.
And I love creating soundscapes that are meant to
Yeah.
provoke the imagination. And it's kind of fun to feel almost like a producer and a director and an actor all in one. Some people would rather just act and not get into all those other areas, but I enjoy it. There was a Zeb. We got a Zeb.
We got a Zeb.
Got a
And that'd
Zeb. Zeb is in the building.
We also know that.
I got a Hera! I got a Hera! I got a Hera! Oh my gosh, okay, wait,
We
hold
got
on.
a haircut.
We got a Hera! We got a Hera! Oh my gosh.
So
I had a feeling it was coming.
that
Alright.
was the first time you ever hit your own card out of a pack.
That's right. Never, ever have I ever. All right,
I don't
so
know what color.
I have an incredible fine tip gold pen that I think
Okay,
would look
fine.
really cool.
That would be awesome.
Yeah? On the front, yeah? Or do you want it back here?
No, on the front.
On the front.
Let's do it.
While she's signing that, we talked about the incredible resume. Just looking at it here, you've got credits from on television. From I just saw Scrubs. And,
Yes, I was Becky, the nurse.
You've done voice for ESPN, so that's the sports world that we
Yes,
we
the
live
sports
in.
world. For the Special Olympics, I did the intros and outros, but also for the X Games, both the Winter X Games
Okay.
and the regular good old X Games. And for that one, they wanted a nondescript European accent. I'm still opening these. Is that okay?
Yes,
okay.
we're going to open them all.
Yeah, I ended up booking a lot of voiceover work, and so I was so busy doing my voiceover stuff that I stopped pursuing the on-camera,
Yeah?
and I just never picked it back up again. But I enjoy it, and I love storytelling in any shape or form. So happy to.
We know you're going back.
Oh, another Sabine.
So you have something that you're voicing on Monday.
Yes, quite a few things. Yeah, quite a few things. There's another video game that I can't tell you.
Fair?
eventually, we'll tell you.
Yeah, a couple movie trailers that I can't tell you.
Eventually, you'll see them.
Eventually, you'll see them thanks to the non-disclosure agreements. I will leave it at that.
Do you find voices that you then apply to characters, or do you find that once you're introduced to a role, you create the voice out of that?
Well, there's a process of getting a piece of paper with language on it and then an image. And I look at the language, I look at the image, and then I ask myself, what would that person look, feel, sound like, think like, etc. How are they organized? What do they want? And then I would play around, and sometimes I come up with 3 different choices, and I'll record 3 different ways. And sometimes I end up mixing and matching all 3 of them, or picking one, and that's sort of the discovery of it. And then once I land on what it is, then that's what I do moving forward. Yeah, the thing is, living on the West Coast, I got another Hera! Woo! Got another Hera! What? Hey, Hera!
Hey, Hera.
Yay! Oh my gosh! All right, we're gonna sign this one.
That's right. How about this one? You sign it to Greenie Sports Cards, and we'll hang that in our office.
Okay.
And that'll be a cool one.
Same.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Greenie. Okay. There we go.
That's awesome.
Hopefully you can
Vanessa,
see
as
that.
you mentioned and
Yes.
put it on the resume, you have so many different voices. How do you keep them separated, and do you dream in different voices? And
I do.
when you step up to the mic, are you hearing different voices?
Well, okay. Let's take your mom and your aunt and, I don't know, your next door neighbor. When you hear their voices, do you think, how do I keep them apart? Oh my God, who's talking? You know them.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are people. These are characters. And so I know who they are. So I'm basically like letting them express through me, if you will.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to keep track because they're very different characters. Yeah. So I discover them in that way, so they are more organic. But if I had to go from the outside in, I wouldn't remember anything because it's too hard.
Yeah.
Hey, BB-8. Woohoo! Oh, wow, another Qui-Gon. These are great cards. I love the feel of these cards. Well, I think I'm happy we found two. I feel
happy that we found two.
I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. That's right.
All right, we got an Anakin, a Cad Bane, a Wrecker, and a Grief Karga. Wow.
A Miggs Mayfield or Bill Barr.
Love it.
Captain Phasma.
I like Miggs.
K250.
Oh, wow. He's scary.
There's a lot of Jar Jar Binks in these packs.
I like the
presume
Jar
that's
Jar.
a common
Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
Are there more Star Wars movies in the future? Do we know?
Call Dave Filoni. I don't know. You got to call Dave. He's the only one who knows.
Yeah. Okay, you get the last one.
The last one. Let's see how we do. Actually, will you open this for me?
Yeah. Perfect.
What's your name? George. Hi, George. Perfect. Okay, who's in there?
Get a Hera.
Okay. Jar Jar, Grogu. Thank you.
And here, George, you can have the autograph that she pulled out of the pack herself.
Get up. You want me to make it out to
Do you want to put your name on it?
All right, here we go. Here we go.
Well, we're glad that we could open some Star Wars and
Yes.
find a couple of your cards. And we appreciate you coming out to our
I'm
little
so
town in
grateful.
Medina, Ohio.
You know what? I hope I get to come back.
Well, our thanks to Vanessa Marshall and Operation Fandom and Greenie Sports Cards out here at the Medina County Collectors Fair. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
to
you.
Greenie for having us.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you for having me, and I'm so grateful I got to open my first box.
That was
this
awesome.
is crazy, and
Cool.
we got two Heras. I don't think it gets more magical than that.
Yep,
frankly.
that was awesome.
The Force was strong with us.
Ha.
We got a bunch of Kent State Golden Flashes here, and I appreciate your time, all three of you, for coming on today. But let's get into it. I think this is a great event put on by Greenie Sports, and just kind of want to talk about not being from the area, but you also being from the area and now being able to be a part of an event like this. After your career, what seeing something like this and being a part of something like this, what does it mean to you?
It's pretty cool. See people come from all over and see a passion, what they like and what they're doing, and trading cards and getting cards, and it's a good event. I love coming back and being surrounded by things like this.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about you two? Obviously, with like NIL and all those things going on now in the college game and the NCAA game, how have you been able to do events like this? To get out and more in the community, but also build your brand, around football and around athletics.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's special because now we get to be able to be more involved in the community and do different things, and it allows us to be able to expand our horizons and different things, to be able to give back to the community and be able to sign cards for other people in the community and fans and stuff like that. So I think it's huge because we get to be more active outside of just being football players and being student athletes.
To piggyback off that, I think it's a great thing, so the fans can get to know more of who we are behind the scenes of our sports and things like that. And I also think it's just a great thing to just be able to give back to the community as well.
Mm-hmm. And then even, now being, two current college players, you're a fifth year and you're a redshirt sophomore. So you've both been in college for a little bit, and you've experienced NIL. You've also experienced life without NIL. Just talk about the trajectory of to being able to sign cards now and be at an event like this, but then be able to profit off of it as well.
Yeah, it's been a huge change, honestly, but I think it's great. I think it's really good to be able to do things like this. I think athletes have earned it, honestly. So I think it's been a huge thing, a huge change in the trajectory.
Yeah, I think it's special because it gives student athletes a little more financial freedom. It's definitely everybody not has the ability to go do different things, and I feel like now we have the opportunity to go do things that we want to do outside of sports and school. So it's huge for us, and it makes a big difference. Just our college experience, it changes it a lot.
Now being able to be outside of the game, but also play in the NFL, and I'm sure you've done the card signings where you were paid for it and things like that. Kind of talk about your experience with it, and being able to experience that as a professional player, but not as a college athlete like them.
I think, well, for college athletes in their situation, I think it's well deserved. They're the ones out there putting the time in with their name on it, and beforehand they weren't able to get anything out of it. So I think what they're doing with that, it's fair game for them. And yeah, going to the NFL, it's obviously coming from Kent State, and we didn't have that situation yet. I always thought it was pretty cool having your own cards out there and doing signings and being invited to events, and it's good for publicity. It's good for the team. It's good for the marketing, and just so they can see you outside the pads.
Mm-hmm. And now, you also being from Kent State and playing in the NFL, getting drafted third round, playing 10 years, I definitely want to speak on that because obviously he's a fifth year, so his time may be coming. His time could be next year, And so I kind of want to talk about coming from Kent State and then having that opportunity to get drafted pretty high, but also play that long. What did it take, coming from Kent State?
No silver spoon, that's for sure. Coming from the MAC, it's always a challenge. They're fighting against you from the beginning, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you are. As long as you're a good athlete and you can compete with the best people, they'll find you. And you got to put in the more work. You got to, because nothing, we don't get the notice that these other schools do. So you got to always put that extra work in, and if that means you can't go out, you got to put in the more time in the film room or in the weight room and actually concentrate on what you're eating. It's hard because the guidance isn't there like these other big programs, but if you with everything out there in the social media world and what it takes to get to the next level, I mean, everything's out there written on the table. You just got to follow these things, and I'm telling you, it'll happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, you two are at Kent State right now and going through the process right now. So talk about just, some of them action and all those different things, and then being able to, play. I saw you had a forced fumble against UCF and play, some of those, I guess, Power 5 or, bigger schools. Talk about just those experiences and then, what it means, for, I guess, your career and then also just your confidence looking ahead maybe at the NFL.
Yeah, most definitely. I know a lot of people may say, playing in a MAC, you might not be playing against the best competition. So, even given those games to show that, hey, we can go out there and play against these people and do well and perform and succeed in these certain games, that it definitely puts it on the map like, hey, we're just not below the level of, the Power 5 schools. We're athletes too. We're Division I. We're scholarship athletes, so we can do it too. So that's what I think is special about those big games. And it just, it helps our film, especially when, NFL comes looking for certain players. Like, hey, he's played against this game. Like 2 years ago, we played against Georgia. We balled out that game. Even though we didn't win, we played really hard, we balled out. And it just shows that, yeah, because we're a MAC school or we're a smaller school, that doesn't mean that we can't go out there and play hard and compete with those guys.
I think it's really special to play those type of games because it gives us opportunity to take advantage of the opportunity to be able to play in the bright lights, play with that many fans watching, showcase our abilities to also compete with them as well. So I think it's a really big thing that we don't take for granted at all. We know that we worked hard to get here just like they did. So I feel like it's a great thing that we can get to go out there and play those teams.
Mm-hmm. And then also so that you were the leading receiver for the team this year. But obviously, I think Kent State, one of the best office, or in the previous years, like one of the best offices in the country, not just the MAC, but in the country. And then OC going to Colorado and kind of seeing the success that he had early on there. Kind of just talk about the transfer portal a little bit, to where Kent might have lost some guys, but then obviously the guys that stayed are the ones that are committed to the team and committed to the process. Kind of just talk about being able to go through the transfer portal and fight through the transfer portal, and then be able to stay committed to the group of guys that did stay.
Yeah, how we go about that is the guys that stayed or the guys that's here, and that's what we got to work with. We don't really look too far as to who leaves, who doesn't. It's next guy up mentality. So we know everyone has the same capability. There's no big difference in talent. So we know that it's next guy up. So when let's say someone left, what we do in our position groups, we all learn the same things, we all learn the same techniques, so we should be able to just step up and do our work the same way.
Yeah, I want to segue to the journey to Kent State for all of you. Brian, I'll start with you. Being from the Cleveland area and pretty close to Kent too, growing up in Hudson and going to Hudson schools, and then being able to eventually commit to Kent State. Kind of just talk about the upbringing in Hudson and maybe what led to going to Kent State, because I saw you had an offer from Syracuse as well, but obviously decided to stay home and play in the MAC.
Yeah, coming out of high school, I wasn't heavily recruited. I think I was like a 3-star guy. Had most of the MAC schools, had a few of the other schools as well. Syracuse was my first offer my sophomore or junior year. And it's one of those things that, it doesn't matter where you are. If you know what your path is and what you want to put your mind to, they'll find you. So I knew Kent State was a good fit for me. I was close to home, close to family, and still played in a great competitive league. Maybe didn't play the top teams every weekend, weekend and week out, but we had our moments and we had our times. And my senior year, we had an amazing team. We had coaching changes throughout the season, but my senior year, we had a great coaching staff. Everyone bought into the program, and we were a top-performing team. So it doesn't matter kind of where you start, but people always doubt the MAC or have, thoughts about the MAC, but I think it's a really competitive and strong football league.
Now, how about your journeys? You're from Indiana, and let's see, how about you? Chicago. So coming both, not like Brian growing up in the Cleveland area or just in Ohio in general. How did you, what brought you to Kent State, and then what brought you to Kent State as well?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm from Chicago, like we said. But it's mostly just the community aspect of Kent State. Like, the community is so strong and so welded together. That's what really drove me to come here. Like, I loved every part about it. And yeah, the coaching staff that recruited me is not here now, but to me, it's still that same mindset in the community's aspect of it. The team is still the same. Like, we're so closely bonded. We're so close as a team that it just brings people here. Even though Kent is not the most, eye-opening place, or people aren't driven by the weather. Like, it's hard-nosed. It's a hard-nosed place. Nothing is given to you. It's very we don't get a silver spoon when you come here. Everybody has to work hard, really hard. So that's just kind of what drove me about it. Like, nothing's easy. You have to work really hard to be here and to perform and do well here. So that's why I really love the thing about Kent, because nothing comes easy to you. So that's what I like about it.
What chose me to choosing Kent was coming on my official visits and things like that, and also game day visits. I've seen how well the athletes bonded together. I've seen how well the fans treated the athletes and how the little kids looked up to the athletes so much, and I really enjoyed how that played out. So that's what really drove me to commit to Kent State.
Now, did you have any other offers coming into Kent State, or coming into your decision to go to Kent State?
Yeah, I had a couple. I was a 2-star. I had a couple offers from Notre Dame College. I had one from Indiana State, places like that. But yeah, Kent State was probably one of the best decisions I made. Just looking at I met with CJ West about how the campus life was, toward the campus. I fell in love with the campus immediately. So it was just things like that.
I kind of want to get the conversation going, I guess, between us, all of us, but because obviously you're going through Kent State now, you went through Kent State. I want to see if there's some differences, similarities, maybe that led you to Kent State, that led y'all to Kent State, but also during the experience, if there's a dorm that you stay in or, a food hall that you go to that you could connect on memories or anything like that. But definitely, I want to get the conversation going,
we had the Rat Skeller, that's where we ate. I don't know if that's a thing anymore, but before camp, We were in there at 6 a.m. It was on campus, and they would bus us over. I don't think you guys eat there. I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. The dorm I stayed at was the one right next to the Mac Center. I forget the name of it. Right across from the side entrance, right off to the left. I forget the name of it. But some athletes were there. Or Dunbar.
Oh, Dunbar.
Yeah, D Block. Yeah. That's where a lot of guys were at. Yeah, I'm sure a majority of the things are the same, but I mean, as far as downtown, everything has like changed drastically. I mean, the amount of things that they've added, restaurants, places to go out, it's totally different. That whole new street, that Acorn Alley, none of that was there. We had the Robin Hood, we had Brew House, and Water Street. Those were our bars. But now they got a bunch of options to choose from.
Yeah, before like you said, our new dining hall now that we go to is Eastway, and they actually had one built like within the past couple of years. It's called the DI Hub. It's a newer, like a more advanced dining hall. But yeah, the main one's like pretty much Eastway, and like coming to Kent, my first dorm hall was like Dunbar, like you said, D Block. Yeah,
D Block.
We know about that. And then I transitioned to the newer building, the Tri Towers, and I stayed in the Liebert Hall.
Oh, nice.
So that one was pretty nice. So that's a newer thing. But like you said, like even the downtown area is just so nice compared to like the older pictures I've seen or talked to the older cats that graduated from Kent years and years ago. So yeah, I've seen the change that's happened. We're always building new buildings now. We got a new business building coming. So that's pretty cool to see in the Kent State community.
Yeah. So back on that. On my visit, I came to your room at Liebert, and I saw how nice that was. So that made me want to stay in Liebert. So I stayed in Liebert my freshman year, and then I transitioned to Eastway my sophomore year. So, and then downtown area is so different than the pictures I saw. So like when I first committed here, I looked up pictures of downtown area, like looked at all that. I was like, oh, like looks kind of older. And then once I get there and I see it at night and everything's lit up and things like that, and it's like that back road with the brick like walkway by Mike's place and all that, Gray's place. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So it was really cool to like look at the transition through all that.
Yeah, at Notre Dame, we kind of had didn't have co-ed dorms either. So it was just like the all guys dorms and then the all girls dorms. So that was a completely different experience, but still some fun times, but more like a frat and sorority type of vibe. So I love like hearing different stories and just getting people's different experience. Our downtown, and we don't even have a downtown like near campus, so kind of got to go a little bit of ways to find some fun. But no, and I definitely know Kent. Kent can party. What is it? Kent Reed, Kent Ray
can party.
Yeah, they can party for sure. But. No, but I want to talk about kind of just, and you probably experienced this maybe more in the NFL. They're kind of going through it now with NIL, but just the business of sports. And obviously we're here, at a card show that's surrounded, and about sports. Kind of just, talk about your introduction into, I guess, the real world, and then maybe if there were some mistakes that you wish you might have known earlier in terms of business that you would maybe want to share with them to like give them some insight.
With what I'm doing now?
As far as contracts or just NFL stuff?
Oh yeah,
so
at first I thought it was pretty wild. Like people were paying me, they want to see me, they want me to shake hands and get my autograph. I thought that was wild because, like I said, coming from Kent State during that time before these NIL deals and all that, it wasn't really like a thing. Our senior year, like I said, we had a good run, so it kind of brought me into that. But my first experience was at the Senior Bowl when we were doing card signings and sitting at the tables and meeting all these NFL coaches and stuff. But the contract stuff, it's when you first get drafted, it's pretty much all set in stone, right? You're really working for that second deal. But when it comes to that second deal, it's your job to go out there and perform, right? But your numbers dictate, it's all dictated on how you play. So I didn't really have a say on the numbers and what I thought I should get. My agent, they kind of handle those things. So as far as the business aspect from the NFL, I didn't really have a big I didn't really have to worry about that part of it. It was just more going out and performing. That was my job, is to perform. If you want to get paid, you got to perform, right? So it's definitely a wild ride. You see a lot, you meet a lot of people, and not on top of that, but when you go into the next chapter of your life, it sets you up and gives you great connections that you can fall over, and it's great conversation, right? It shows people your work ethic. I mean, not only the NFL, but college athletes, if they don't make it to the next level, you know, if they have on their resume that they're a Division I college athlete over someone else, they're going to hire you because they know your work ethic's there, right? They know you're used to waking up early, grinding through hard days, working late. So business is always kind of in hand with playing sports.
And I think that's a huge point, because a lot of focus might not be on, you know, life after football or the next chapter. But I do want to get into, you know, what you're doing now after football, after 10 years too, because obviously that's a long time of, from the time you were a kid to, you know, 10 years in the NFL, you played the game, you know, the majority of your life. But now heading into a new chapter, Fair Painters and, you know, some other things, kind of just, you know, talk about that transition and maybe how that passion came about.
Yeah, it was tough at first, you know, because you go from such a regimen and a schedule. You know, I was up at 4:30 and I was home by 8:30 every night, you know. Never saw my family, never saw my kids. I mean, when I retired, it was like first year of my son's life while I was playing, like didn't even really know him, you know. He never wanted me, he was always wanting mom, right? But so when I retired, it was kind of nice to be able to take a step back and hang out with my kids and be around my family. We put our roots down in Aurora, and for about 4 to 5 months, I was kind of hanging out, just working out, trying to lose the weight, you know, get that off me, and then figure out what I want to do with the next chapter of my life. I don't want to just sit around, right? So I wanted to show my family and my kids that I was, you know, still had a motive to do something each day. So in the process of building my house, I actually met this guy who was doing our designer actually got us in touch, and he made some bunk beds for us in our house, and I hit it off with this guy, and we kind of kept in touch. He's my age, he's a young, hungry guy like me, and he started a woodworking company. And I hit him up one day, I'm like, dude, we should start a company, we should do something, because I know what type of drive you got, I know what I've been doing. And we went through the whole branding process, met with companies to kind of figure out our path and what kind of company we wanted to go to. And I was always drawn to epoxy flooring, right, for garages and warehouses. I always thought that was a cool process, you know. My whole family's been in manual labor, and I kind of like that background, so I wanted to do something with my hands. And we landed on epoxy flooring, and I mean, it took off, man. I mean, in the first year or so, we killed it. Our numbers were off the charts, and made great connections with these big companies. We did a lot of residential, but a lot of commercial jobs too. And from there, we had these other partners that I also do work with on the side, but they are house flippers, and they buy $1 million plus homes. And they were sitting down with us in the winter and said, you know, one thing that we're lacking is having sufficient and good painters, and that's about 20 to 30% of their budget when they're doing these house flips. And I'm like, well, this kind of goes hand in hand with what we're doing, so we expanded. So we were originally First in Floors was the name of our company. It was a play on football for flooring, and then we got into Fair Painters, and we've expanded. We have about 20 employees now, and it's fun. It wakes me up every day. I have a purpose. You know, I have an office I get to go into. Never thought I'd have an office, and I got one. And you know, I treat our guys. No one's on a pedestal. We're all in there doing what we got to do to make the day go. And it's a team. You know, I'm bringing the team aspect. One of our main head guys who runs our paint division was in the Navy for 9 years, and then there was CJ, who has been in business for a long time. And you know, with us three, we're just trying to create a powerhouse of young guys who are just go-getters. We're trying to set these people up, and for painters and floors and, you know, these manual labor jobs, there's not much of a schedule, right? They don't really have like a regimen, so we're trying to create something different than all these other paint companies, and giving them something to look forward to, giving them incentives and motives, and, you know, pretty much trying to guide them into being like good young men, you know. So super happy with where I'm at and excited, and it's just the beginning.
I know you talked about the team aspect and then also the regiment, but what else, you know, from your football background that has helped you, you know, sustain and build this successful company so far?
Just discipline, you know. I'm not afraid to lose. I'm not afraid to take chances, because that's what I did my entire life. You know, that's how you build on things. You can't be afraid to lose. If you want to lose, this isn't for you. So I always take that very hard, and that's my strong opinion.
Now, you guys are still in it. You guys are still in college playing football. But I always think like now, or I was at Notre Dame and then had the opportunity to play for the Raiders for a year. But always we were trying to go to different workshops. We were trying to figure out what we wanted to do. You know, like obviously if football didn't work out, kind of think about that next career path. While you're in college and you're a fifth year, but you're a little younger, have you both been able to just, express yourself or go out and find there's different passions that you are passionate about?
Yeah, we've been like with our majors, like I'm a sports admin major, so what I want to do with that, I probably want to go into like if sports don't work out, probably like some recruiting or agent types things. And I think the big thing is like Kent State does a great job of preparing us boldly for life after sport regardless. So I think a big thing is just really locking in those classes. Like I do like some, not sponsorships, but I go and watch people. I go work at Vince for my practicum classes. Like I do things like that just to prepare myself if sports didn't work out. So I think Kent State does a great job of doing that.
Yeah, for me specifically, I'm a public speaking major, so I slowly kind of found a love for public and motivational speaking. So if sports never worked out, that's kind of the route I would probably take. And I also love working with kids. Like that's another driving factor I have for me because I know, as I was growing up, I wish I had somebody that was like a coach, teaching me through sports constantly. So that's kind of what I also like to get into is like, just like coach training and position training for, children who want to go to play at high school level or high schoolers that want to go play at the college level. Because I know that I know a lot of things that I wish I knew back when I was in high school. And I would like to give that to, kids who's looking for those answers and those different things. So that's probably one of the routes I would take when, if sports never worked out or after my NFL career is over, if I get that, opportunity.
We got to get you up here to give some. We'll close it with a motivational speech or something like that.
Yeah, most definitely.
But no, I mean, I think that's definitely important. Like being able to hear Brian's story and being able to connect with him. Obviously, I think obviously at the end, you both all should connect. Just because he's doing something local and he has opportunities to even, throw you some NIL dollars maybe and do some marketing, for his business. But no, I think it's important, obviously, to connect with the alum and connect with the boosters and just the people that have gone through, what you're going through now. And so has Kent State been able just to provide, that opportunity and bring just, program familiar faces through the building, people, that have businesses and, or gone to the NFL, gone play professionally. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, most definitely. Kent State does a great job, and especially Coach Burns. He does a great job with that. During the spring and sometimes during the season, we do these things called, we bring in somebody that works for business or that gives us life advice because, not everybody has the opportunity to go and play football at the next level. So we bring in these people to give us life advice on these things that we may not ever knew, or like something like how to build your credit. Like these are things that he brings people in to teach us, or even some people may not know how to change a tire. So that's somebody who brought us in, or how to properly buy a suit. Like he teaches us things to become a man, and if football never worked out, you need these skills because that's how you're going to be able to live life without sports. Like you have to become a man eventually and be on your own eventually. So those are different things. And even just the school itself does great things. I know like my junior year, we had this this event where there were Kent State graduates who came back and kind of just told us like, hey, this is how I started my business. And all these people, they played sports as well. They were all athletes. And they all came back to tell us like, this is how I kind of moved on and transitioned into life after sports. And, some are business owners, some working, corporate businesses. Some people may do, like athletic training or different things like that. So they kind of brought those familiar faces that, who graduated from Kent and kind of just gave us how they transitioned onto life after sports. And they do a great job with it. I've talked to different people who are Kent State graduates that, give us advice on those different things. So it's really helpful if football never works out. So that's great.
Yeah, we could. I definitely want to talk about some Kent State moments too. You know, I think you've probably like you talked about your senior season. You had some great moments. The team had some great success individually. Like you had a great play against UCF, but also a number of tackles against like Texas A&M, some bigger schools. You led the team in receiving. You know, this past year. I kind of want to touch on. We can start, right to left, my right to left, but just some of the memorable moments that you had, maybe as a student at Kent State, but then also on the field at Kent State.
Yeah, I remember my senior year, we were about to play Rutgers, and they just came off an enormous win against Arkansas. Arkansas was ranked, I think, 8th in the country, and we went into that game. Everyone thought they were just going to beat the brakes off us. But we went into that game and beat the brakes off them. It was like 35-13, and that's kind of when we got a spark and got on the map. And I just remember that game. I mean, the stadium was silent. It was unbelievable. Like that was my first real experience of like seeing like we can compete, we can play with these guys. And from there, we kind of just went around. That was like one of the big things that kind of stuck with me. I just remember how silent you could hear a pin drop in that stadium. As we were marching on the field. I mean, the game was way out of hand. But they walked in there. I don't know if they were prepared or not, or just kind of brushed us off. But it was a good one to be a part.
Mm-hmm. How about you guys?
Yeah, I got a couple special moments. One really special moment for me was the game that we had needed to win to go to our MAC championship in 2021 against Miami, Ohio. That was like movie type moment. You know what I mean? And it goes into it's a super close game. It goes into overtime and. We're literally battling back and forth, and it comes down literally to a 2-point conversion. And one of our DBs, made a play and swatted the ball down, got a PPU, and it sent us to the MAC championship. And like just that moment, and just the feeling in that exact moment, the adrenaline that was going through my body is just like something you probably won't ever receive again. You know what I'm saying? Those moments are really special, and it's just like there's certain things that you may not feel ever again, and that was just like a moment that I would never live down. And then another moment for me was kind of like your story about you guys playing Rutgers, but we didn't, unfortunately, we didn't win this game. But like I said, spoke earlier about is the Georgia game that we played back in 22. And this was after the year Georgia was the national champions, and everybody's going in like, oh my gosh, like they're going to get blown out. Like, looking at social media, like, oh, they're about to lose by 50 and those different things. And we went in with a mindset of like, we don't care. Like, we bleed blood just like you guys do. We bleed red the same color. So we just kind of went in with the mentality of we work just as hard as you guys. And the deficit was maybe like 14 points that game, like 12 points after the game. We still lost. But it was just the fact that we competed with the best of the best. And kind of like you said, like the stadium was quiet as we like scored multiple times and, got the game within one touchdown at a certain point. And even that game, like I had a sack. And it was just like the best feeling ever. Like I'm on the biggest stage possible, and I am performing, and I can do those things that some people may not think that we can do. And that was just like wonderful moments for me.
My favorite, special moment was my first collegiate snap at UCF this past season. The adrenaline that was going through my body was like unreal, and I caught my first pass, took it 75 yards, and that feeling just does not go away. Like, it's like all my hard work paid off. It felt like everything was like falling into place for where I needed it to be. The confidence that sparked in me. So to know that I can compete with these guys at a high level. So I feel like that was my very special moment.
I wonder what you thought, like your first catch of the season. You was like, oh, like the next catch might be a touchdown too. But just like talk about just throughout the season, just the confidence that gave you, just remembering back to that moment, knowing that like you did it against UCF, but what type of confidence did that give you, having your first catch on that stage be a touchdown for the rest of the season?
I just felt like my confidence continued to grow after that. Week in, week out, putting in the work during the week to be able to display it on Saturdays and things like that. I just felt like it was a big first step to like showing my true potential to where I can really get to.
Mm-hmm. We do have to talk about Maction. I think it's very unique that during the football season that there are only a few teams that get to play during the weekend. from the outside looking in, I always want, like, it's cool, first of all, just because you get to watch football. I mean, it's pretty much always competitive games. There's always something wild that happens too. But just being able to, be in front of the TV and watch it, but I don't necessarily know, I guess, the ins and out of the practice schedule. Obviously it's completely, if you're playing on a Wednesday versus Saturday, the practice schedule may be completely different. You may have to practice on a Sunday or anything like that. And then also have class the next day after the game. So kind of go into just the breakdown of, Maction and then what it's like, once you get to that stretch of the season.
Yeah, so in that stretch of the season, we'll go to the hotel the night before the game, things like that. Make sure all our schoolwork done. Our professors have our schedules already, so they'll know we'll be out of class that day. So I think that's a change for sure from the beginning of the season to the action time. I think we do a good job of preparing us for going to sleep early, waiting all day to play the night games and things like that during the week. I think it's a great experience for sure because millions, thousands of people tune in to TV to watch because it's the only games during the week. So I just think it's a great experience.
Yeah, I think Maction is awesome, honestly, because it puts the MAC on the map. Because during the week, nobody else is playing football but the MAC. You know what I'm saying? So it just puts us on blast, and it gives the MAC an opportunity to be watched by thousands of different people. And even with the schedule, it's definitely different because now we're practicing on Sunday. The Sunday is our Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely changes things up. But it's just all a process, and we just continue to follow that process every day. And for us, we'll get a bye day, and then the process is very similar. So we think of a Sunday as a Wednesday, even though it's not, the days are different. This is our mindset. That's how we think it is. So Sunday we come in and we go to work, just like if it was a regular week game. And that's just kind of how we keep going about it. But I think Maction is very special because it just gives us the ability to be put on a national stage and has people comes to watch. People love watching Maction. It's always something crazy happening. The games are always really close, and it's just different. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, the MAC is just very hard-nosed. By the time we get to Maction, it's cold outside and it's freezing, and then every now and then it might snow. So it shows how hard that you actually have to work, and it just shows the grit behind the players in the MAC. Because the Midwest, the weather is not good at all. You know what I'm saying? And it could just change, and it shows that hey, no matter what the conditions is, no matter what adversity we may face, we're going to go out there and fight with our brothers. And that's the biggest thing that those midweek games kind of show about us.
How's that day after the game or class after the game, especially after a big win? A college kid might want to go out and have fun or anything like that. But what's that like, having to go out there and play? Like you talk about rain, snow, cold game. And it could be a huge win, but then, you got that 8 a.m. Or 9 a.m. class the next day.
Yeah, it's definitely something that takes getting used to. Even the day before the game, if you have class that day, you have to go to your class, then you travel to the hotel later on. You know what I'm saying? So that's just another process to get used to. But it's you get the hang of it once you play 2 or 3 Maction games. I've been here for 4 years now. I've played a couple Maction games, so I just really take my experience to help the younger guys be able to deal with those midweek games, because I know if you have a game midweek, you might, get behind in school or something. So just kind of taking that process and keeping up with your things and keeping your schedule right, nice and tight, and just honestly just keeping that same process that we always do. So yeah, the weekdays change, but our mentality has never changed. So that's the same thing we go about it. And after a big win, we just be humble about it, wake up, go to class the next day, watch film, and then get ready for the game next week.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to kind of segue that into your NFL career and, playing, during the week to where now in the NFL, where you got to the NFL, you played on Monday nights and Thursday nights. Did that Maction, activity at all help you, transition to the NFL when you had a Thursday night or a Monday night game?
Yeah, it did. But, like he said, it's just one of those things you just got to change in your mind the work week. It might be a shorter work week when you're playing Thursday night football, and then you have to prepare to play the following week. That's always tough, but they do a good job with preparing you and getting you into the situation that you need to be in. But it was, going back to the action, it was the time where we were able to actually watch the games, because when I was playing, I wasn't able to see any of the games or any of that. So a lot of betting went on in the locker room when the action started coming out. And then I was able to tune in, which was great, because I always still follow them and I'm close with them. So I want to make sure that I was able to watch them. So it's a cool experience. But going back to playing, Thursday night games were it was a quick turnaround after playing from Sunday. Your body's beat up. It might not be as physical during that week. It's more of helmets and more film, but they do a good job preparing you and getting you ready for those games.
I even saw the NFL's like looking at Wednesday night games now. Like they're trying to continue to add more games, more weeks. So I don't know about all that.
That's a tough one. That's a tough swing. I mean, people are always complaining about Thursday night games, especially later in the season. As you get more banged up, it's a tough turnaround. But early, I was always praying for the early Thursday games. Because you're fresh.
Yeah. Even you playing, maybe a few years ago, but I guess your prime, would be in your prime was a little earlier, and the rules of the game were completely different, at that point. And now we see, tackling, some the hip drop tackling now being taken out. In college football, they got the targeting call that that knocks you out of the game. Kind of talk about when you were in college, or and then maybe even the start of your NFL career, how some of the rules may have changed.
I think personally, kind of football is getting a little soft in the NFL. That's just my personal opinion. I do understand protecting players and the longevity of players. The hip tackling, I have seen some nasty injuries with that. The drag down tackles for running backs, and I get that. But as far as everything else, so when I first came to the NFL, I had Nick Mangold, I had Brickishaw Ferguson and Willie Colon. They were all 7-8 year vets, and then I was starting at left guard. So you couldn't complain about anything with those guys, because even before me, the rules were even different. But I think football needs to be hard-nosed, man. That's the way I always played it. That's the way that that's what kind of got me to that level. And I just don't want them to go too far away from it, because the fans want to see action, right? At the end of the day, they want to see contact. They come for it's a show to them, and if they continue to change these rules and make them, protecting players, like I said, I'm all about protecting players, but there's got to be a fine line,
Yeah. Now you on the defensive side of the ball. We'll get to you in a minute to see if you like the targeting rules and all that. But you on the defensive side of the ball, what are your thoughts, on obviously the new NFL change, but also some of the college changes as well, like targeting and some of those things?
Yeah, I feel like those rules causes us to become smarter players in some way, because now we have to kind of think about how we go in and make these hits. Yeah, I understand it's protecting each other, but sometimes things just don't line up exactly how the rules want them to. You know what I'm saying? The specific angle that we might come at might require us to hip drop somebody. You know what I'm saying? It's just how the game of football is. It's literally a game of inches and seconds, milliseconds. So it just all really depends on the exact moment and the exact angle that we're coming and making hits. But I mean, it's tough as a defensive guy, making sure that when we hit a ball carrier that we're doing it the right way, because it kind of slows us down a little bit in some sort. But I mean, it's about protecting the players. So, but it's definitely tough, coming from a defensive perspective.
Now you're on the offensive side of the ball, a skilled player, obviously. Knowing that some of these rules are in place, how does that make you feel? Maybe if you're running a dig route or running a slant, knowing, it could happen, but most likely that it probably won't, just because knowing that player might get kicked out. How does that, how do you, run your routes maybe different or anything like that?
I definitely don't proceed the middle of the field with more precaution now that these rules are in place, because I know I'm most likely not going to get hit in the wrong way. So I definitely feel like it makes me feel more protected and comfortable, as I'm running these routes and things like that.
Before we head out, let's just touch on this event a little bit. Talk about how your relationship with Greenie maybe came about, and just when the opportunity came, what were some of your thoughts, and are you looking forward to doing anything like this in the future again?
Yeah, so I received a text message from me and CJ to see if we want to come out here to this event. And, I think it's a great event. Sports cards, I've always dreamed of being on one. I always wanted to be a part of something like this, and it's really cool to see all these people out here coming for one common joy and things like that. So I think it's a really cool event.
Yeah, for me, I think it's awesome because it gives us another chance to support people who supports us. So I think it's a great opportunity and a great thing. Like you said, like it's always a kid's dream to become an athlete and get put on a sports card. Like when you're younger, you always see the LeBron cards, or if you've seen a Michael Jordan card somewhere, or your favorite football player's card. Like that was also something that was like really cool and like wow, I wish one day I could get on one of these cards. So it's a great opportunity, and I love supporting people who support us, and I would look forward to doing another event like this.
And Brian, for you, like obviously now you're doing, you're in the next chapter now, but coming back here and signing cards and being in front of sports fans, how's this moment for you?
It's cool. It's cool to see everyone's passion for collecting different cards and what goes into events like this, and it brings me back and it makes me feel good, and I'm always out here and like seeing new things. This is something new to me. I've never seen a convention set up like this, and it's pretty cool. It's cool to see everyone come out and gather and for such a good event.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you all coming out here. Shout out to Kent State. Hopefully, this season goes really well, and you guys finish up spring ball good and healthy as well. But Brian, and to you, much success to your business and anything you got going forward. So again, appreciate all three of your time today.